Welcome, my name is Doug Schmidt. I'm a professor in the computer science program, computer science department. I can finally say that for real. Very exciting. I've been here since 2003. It's the first time I've been able to say that. I wanted to say it for a long time. So what I'm going to talk today about are some rules of success for grad students. So first, let me give you a quick overview of who I am. So I have a somewhat non-traditional background. I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of California, from the College of William & Mary, and then I have a PhD and master's degree from UCI, so Zot, right? And here at Vanderbilt, I wear many hats. I'm a CS professor, I am the associate provost for research, and I'm also the co-director of the Data Science Institute. But I've also done a lot of other stuff. So I've been a visiting scientist and the chief technology officer at Carnegie Mellon Software Engineering Institute. I've worked on various boards, the Air Force Scientific Advisory Board. I've been a CTO for several companies. I was a program manager at DARPA. You'll find that there's actually a lot of people here at Vanderbilt who've been program managers at DARPA or are program managers at DARPA, and many other things. And so the first rule of success here is be prepared to diversify yourself over your career. So just because you're here as a computer scientist doesn't mean you won't change many times throughout the rest of your career. And I often say that having a computer science degree has been absolutely essential for the success in the first half of my career, and having a sociology degree has been important for the second half of my career. Because a lot more what you do as you get further along is deal with people and organizations and things like that. Not everybody does that, but some people do. So, next question. Why do you want to be a graduate student? Well, to be successful in anything you want to do in life, you have to figure out what your goals are. You want to be Conan the Barbarian? Do you want to be the governor of California? Maybe you can do both. Can you be the president of the United States? Probably not. There's a citizenship requirement. It's a little harder. Too many people end up in graduate school not really knowing why they're there. So let's talk about some reasons why you might want to go to grad school. So one reason, just a very good reason, is you have a burning desire to learn something about a new field or discover new topics. That's probably the best reason to be here in some ways. Another reason, which is a good reason, is you want to increase your personal competitiveness and get a signing bonus when you graduate. So when you get out in the real world and you've got your freshly minted master's degree or your freshly minted PhD, that'll help you in either getting more money or doing something you like for good money. So sometimes it's more important to do something you like for good money than getting the most money, believe me. Another reason, this is kind of why I went to grad school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Anybody here who's ever seen the movie Office Space, classic movie about life in the IT cubicle world? Poor Peter doesn't really know what he wants out of life. He knows he doesn't want to work at Inditech, but that's about it. Maybe you want to impress someone where you're impressing your folks, you're impressing your siblings or your cousins, your significant other, and so on and so forth. That's another reason. Chances are, if you don't know why you're here, or if you're not here for the right reasons, you probably won't stick it through. Has anybody here ever seen the movie The Three Idiots? Great movie, right? And so it's a great movie that talks about people learning what they want out of life and then going for it. So it's even if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing. It's really fun. So here's a little cartoon from Matt Groening. He's The Simpsons, yes. And so I won't read all this to you. I'll put the slides out later so you can read them if you want. But there's some funny stuff in here. The 5 secrets of grad school success. Do not annoy the professor. Be consistently mediocre. Avoid anything that smacks of originality. Do exactly what you're told. Stop reading this cartoon right now and get back to work. Obviously, this is meant in fun, right? There's a lot more to it. But there will undoubtedly be times when you think about some of these things and you may find them to be your experience as well. So, first rule of success after you prepare to diversify your life, figure out why you're in grad school. It's a lot of work. It's great work, but it's a lot of work. So make sure you're here for the right reasons. And we'll talk more about what happens if you decide you're not here for the right reasons in a minute. So there are essentially 3 stages of research evolution. Stage number 1 is novice. Stage number 2 is expert. And then stage number 3 is advocate. So I mentioned before people who go to DARPA to be program managers or go to the National Science Foundation to be program managers. They're there to advocate for something. They want to build their community. They want to grow some topic and make a program and get people to come. You are probably here, and by the way, novice is not an insult. It means you're probably a novice at being a PhD student in computer science or a master's student in computer computer science. And that's actually a good place to be in a lot of ways, because the opportunity to fill your mind with new things is great. Once your mind gets full, it's a lot harder to put new stuff in there sometimes. To get to be a PhD, or to get a PhD, you need to be an expert at something. We often joke and say that becoming a PhD is where you learn more and more about less and less, right? So you get to be an expert at something that's fairly narrowly focused. And here's the things you're going to have to do to get from here to there. So the first thing you have to do is finish coursework. If you have coursework left over, some people come in with a lot of course credits, but many people take classes. You'll have a prelim exam at some point, hopefully in a year or so, 18 months, something along those lines. If you don't keep track of that, Akash will make sure that you keep track of that. At some point, you'll do a qualifying exam. That's basically known as a thesis topic defense, where you defend what you're going to do for your thesis. And then at some point after that, you do your thesis defense. This may very well be the best time of your life. So use your time productively. We'll talk more about that later. So second rule of requirements, make sure that you understand, second rule of success, make sure you understand the PhD requirements and keep on track, because you don't want to get off track, because then people come and yell at you. There are generally two types of graduate students: bored and busy. Sometimes it's hard to decide which you want to be at any given point in time. But as a general rule, if you find yourself bored, then do whatever you can to get busy as quickly as you can. So that may mean change your advisor, change your topic, take a leave of absence, do something. But if you find yourself a year or so going, this really isn't for me, you're probably either not with the right group or the right topic, or you're not here for the right reasons. Busy doesn't just mean, sort of skittering around like a little busy bee buzzing from flower to flower. It means being goal-directed, it means being proactive, it means being productive. We'll talk about that in a second. The single most important thing you can do while you're here is publish your research, do good research, and publish it in quality venues. And we'll talk about that in a second too. A famous dean in Vanderbilt from 400 BC, Thucydides, did I pronounce that right, Thucydides? Close enough. He said, people who have knowledge but lack the power to express it are no better than people who have no knowledge at all. So if you're not able to convey what you know, it's probably better than to be ignorant, of course, but you won't be as successful as you could be. So third rule of success, surround yourself with productive, goal-oriented people, your colleagues, your fellow students, your mentors, students who are a little ahead of you, and so on and so forth. Publishing is important. What's the way to do it? Well, there's an evolution process for writing papers. And the ultimate goal should be to publish in high-quality journals and/or high-quality conferences. In computer science, a lot of work gets done in conferences. In other fields, it's largely through journals. And if you really want to amuse yourself, go look at Google Scholar, which is basically a bibliometric database that people use for all kinds of purposes. And it can tell you how well you're doing or how well people around you are doing. The journey to doing good publications is incremental. You don't have to start by swinging for the fences on the first pitch. Often you would start by doing some kind of technical report, or maybe a report in a class. You could often turn that into a workshop publication, which is a fairly low barrier to entry. A conference publication after that, where you do some additional work, get some more results, improve it a bit. And then, of course, the creme de la creme, the apex of publication is, the achievement is the journal publication. And usually you take several papers that are conference papers and kind of merge them together to do a journal. Keep this in mind, because it'll come back to bite you if you don't remember it. It's very important that when you publish in these different venues, that it be significantly different work each time. You don't want to be accused of self-plagiarism, which is a big problem in some places. Honestly, the biggest problem is plagiarism, because it's now possible to take other people's stuff and make it look like your own. But self-plagiarism is also a problem as well. There's a great quote by the late, great Steve Jobs, who said, everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you, and you can change it, you can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And he certainly is a good example of that, because there's some controversy about whether he really invented all the things he took credit for, but he was certainly very clever and got a lot of recognition for taking many steps and doing great things. So the fourth rule of success, start doing research and publish papers as quickly as you can. Also, learning to give good talks is important as well. There's a great quote by the late Patrick Winston, who was an AI professor at MIT. He said, your career will largely be determined by how well you speak, how well you write, and by the quality of your ideas in that order. And that is true. So the better you are at communicating, either verbally or in writing, the more effective you'll be. So how do you keep busy? Well, the most important way to keep busy, or not the most important way, if you look at a Maslow's hierarchy of important things, this is the foundation of the hierarchy. Maybe it's above Wi-Fi, but it's not too far up the chain. It's hard to do good research on an empty stomach. So what you want to do is you want to get funding and you want to stay funded because that will enable you to do cool things. This is primarily, by the way, for PhD students here. So there's no guarantees with respect to funding. You'll find that out very quickly, especially if you come here as a TA. So funding is a privilege, not a right. And there's three ways you can basically go to grad school. One is to pay for it yourself or have the bank pay for it, or your parents pay for it. Another way is to be a TA, teaching assistant. And the third way is to be a research assistant. So you should make it your goal to become an RA and stay an RA and make sure you're responsible for getting the funding. That doesn't mean you have to write the grants per se, but make sure that you're responsible for making connections with faculty who can help you out. So there's two types of ways of getting funding in the department. One is to be a TA. That basically means you're working with a class, typically grading, holding office hours, maybe giving lectures from time to time if the professor can't be there for some reason, or if you want to give a talk on a topic that you're building expertise in or an expert in. Typically intended for relatively short periods of time, like maybe your first year. We try not to do much beyond that. Sometimes we have to, but it's very rare. Much more scalable, much more sustainable is to be an RA, and that typically means working with a faculty member who has a grant or a contract, and in that case, you're going to be helping out doing research. Why is being an RA more important? Number one, it typically goes for a longer period of time, and number two, it can have you doing research directly that will help you get your goals met, which is publications, including your dissertation at some point. So you have to make sure that you identify a research advisor quickly, but not so quickly that you make a bad choice. So there's never anything wrong with changing advisors if it's not working out. And I changed my advisor actually twice when I was a grad student, and I'm very pleased that I did that because I wouldn't have been happy with where I would have ended up. So to kind of wrap up here, this is a good place to go to find out information about the graduate program. And but if that is too mysterious, don't hesitate to reach out to the other folks on this list. So obviously, Dr. Kousakous is the chair. Dr. Lezecki is our director of graduate studies. You'll undoubtedly meet Julie Johnson at some point, who's our associate chair and also the director of undergraduate studies. And Chris Lindsay, maybe around here somewhere, he's the program coordinator, and he helps out with all kinds of things related to getting visas and staying in status and helping you navigate the bureaucracy. So get to know these people and other CS faculty, also get to know the EE faculty or the ECE faculty, whatever you think is appropriate for what you do. So my get off the stage slide is, this could very well be the best time of your life, so make sure you enjoy it and figure out what is your passion and go for it. This is a great time, and we're certainly here to help you, but really what it comes down to is you being purposeful and goal-directed and proactive to being successful, and we're here to help.